Congressman Rick Berg joins us now on our Newsmaker line, back in the great state of North Dakota. Rick, how you doing?
I tell you what, I am doing great, Scott. I don't know how to describe it, but when that plane hit North Dakota and I got off, it was just so good to be back in North Dakota, where common sense prevails.
It does indeed, and I would imagine. Well, you tell me. I would guess that this whole debt debate had to be one of the more frustrating times of your short tenure in Congress, was it?
Well, I mean, absolutely. I mean, this whole thing. It's just one little bite at the apple. I mean, we got a long ways to go. I mean, I feel good about it because it sets a framework under some real key principles. Took taxes off the table. There's a reduction in spending. It's laid out a 10-year. But the most important thing to me is you're going to have a vote on a balanced budget amendment in the House and the Senate in the next 3 months. And if that goes to the states, I mean, that's a fundamental change that would prevent this crisis from happening again, down the road in America's future. I just, time and time again, if in '96 the balanced budget agreement passed the House, it lost by the Senate, one vote. If that had passed, we would not be in this crisis right now.
I know that a number of freshmen, and I believe you were included in this group, went into Speaker Boehner's office at a very tenuous time on this deal, a number of the votes, and basically said, we want that balanced budget amendment vote in cement and some other things as well, or we're not going to do this, in kind of an A or B. And you, did you not end up getting both A and B?
Oh, I tell you, it's, yeah. I mean, we met with leadership on Thursday night last week, and it was like, those of us that were not committed to the agreement. And I mean, the speaker, I tell you, he is such a great leader. And the thing that I've heard over and over again this week is, I mean, he tried to get votes not by twisting arms, not by promising favors, but just debating the basics. And so we met together that night, and the speaker said, we need your votes. What will it take? And he got a pretty clear message. It was we needed a balanced budget amendment. And again, 3 days later, or whenever it was, basically everything that we had passed out of the House was what it was accepted by Harry Reid and the president. The balanced budget amendment was a little different. I mean, we said we wanted to make sure that it went to the states. What the deal on that is now is the Senate and the House, if they don't send it to the states, the Democrats need to agree to another $300 billion in cuts. And so it's kind of a language I think they understand.
What do you say to folks who are upset that you and others went along with this deal, saying, hey, really, the debt's going up. We sent you there to stop this, and you caved. There's a lot of people that are really upset that ultimately, Obama got what he wanted in an increase in the debt limit.
I tell you, every major paper out there said Obama was a big loser. I mean, the only thing that, and again, let me just say this. If I were back here saying that this is the greatest deal in the world and it solved the debt crisis, then absolutely ought to be upset with me. But this is just a small step in the right direction. We've got a long ways to go. There's going to be a lot of decisions that need to be made. My biggest concern was, obviously, if we owe these debts, if we ended up having our economy dip or tank or not, pay those bills, the people who would hurt, I think, would be the small business people across. Certainly a concern of mine, but by no means is this certainly isn't the save-all. But what it has is it's changed the debates for the next 3 months. The debate's going to be on cutting, finding more reductions, finding more cuts, and of course the balanced budget amendment, which I came to Washington to fundamentally change how they budget. And if this balanced budget bill becomes law, becomes an amendment to the Constitution, that fundamentally changes. We'll never be in this situation again.
What are you hearing? I mean, you've been back a short time, obviously, since this most recent debate, and folks have no doubt. We talked to Senator Hoeven yesterday, so you heard from a lot of North Dakotans. Phone was ringing. You keep a tally at the reception desk to find out more in favor, more against. What is your sense of where folks are at?
I mean, what I'm doing is I'm on the road. I mean, we're going to do a town hall tomorrow in Dickinson and Williston. Friday we're going to do one in Minot. And the next week we're going to be in Bismarck, we're going to be in Grand Forks, and we're going to be in Fargo. And so I really want to get out firsthand and hear people, what their thoughts are, what their ideas are, and I'm excited about that. Of course, been on the phone with a lot of people, since I got back, and people are no different than they were 6 months ago. I mean, they're concerned about the direction of the country, and they want to make sure that the details of this latest agreement move us towards that end and not away from it.
Would you say more of your constituents support, going along with this plan versus wanting you to vote no, or where would you put the tally?
I'd say it's probably split. I mean, I think most of the people that I've talked to, in fact, I think almost all the people that I talk to are like, we've got to get Social Security checks out, we've got to pay our bills, we've got to pay the people we promised money. Having said that, what people are saying, Rick, we want to make sure that you push it as far as you possibly can. And again, I think that's part of what happened Friday night and became clear Sunday night. That again, from my perspective, the fundamental things that were agreed in this will set the debate, set the tone, and start. I want to make it real clear. Start moving us in the right direction.
Yeah, and I guess that's the point I keep coming back to. I mean, I do worry a little bit about, some people I think enough about. I've written a book about them, as you know, the Tea Party movement, sort of, understanding that this all has to happen overnight. I mean, unfortunately, there are not enough conservatives in Washington, D.C. You have a very liberal president who has a worldview, 100% opposite of, this new movement in this country.
Yep.
You have Harry Reid controlling the Senate. You have, the institutions of government all against us, and as much as you want this to happen, until there's more conservatives, it's not going to happen. So to have a down payment, or a start, as you call it, a framework, for the first time ever, debt ceilings going up, that's horrible. But there's coinciding spending cuts, real spending cuts, where discretionary spending will actually be less dollars spent this year than last, and same thing next year. I mean, that's something. An actual vote finally on a balanced budget amendment a year from an election. Spending caps in law. So you got a few things you've wanted for a while, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you said those things, and if you'd have thought, that Harry Reid or the president would go along with that, especially the rhetoric. Of course, the president was talking about a balanced approach. He means 50% cuts and 50% taxes. I mean, all those things are off the table. Paul Ryan, couldn't have said it better. But what he said is this truly starts moving us, and it moves the debate in a framework it's what we've been talking about.
By the way, if the vote hadn't passed, and the alternative was we run up against the debt ceiling, a lot of folks say just write the veterans checks, do the Social Security checks. You wouldn't have defaulted. You would just spend underneath the cap and manage like other folks do in the middle of a crisis. Was that an option that you seriously considered as a possibility to say, hey, maybe this is what we need to have a wake-up call for Washington, D.C., and a slap to the face to the bureaucracy to say, we ran up against the cap, and now we're going to manage, with the inflows with what we have and prioritize. Was that a real possibility you ever considered?
Well, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I was in a position of not supporting that bill originally. I mean, the problem is I'm becoming more and more cynical of the numbers that come out of Washington. But, the way it was presented to us was that on August 3rd, we would have $7 billion of revenue coming in and $23 billion going out. That would have been the Social Security checks. So, I mean, there was that risk that, we simply wouldn't have the dollars. And, then you've got, quite frankly, the president deciding who gets paid and who doesn't get paid. And, I'm just, again, I don't think we should turn that over to the executive branch. But I think we could have made it a few more days, and there was strategies to do like was done in the CR, raise it enough to get 30 days down the road, raise it enough to get 2 months down the road, and I, for one, was supportive of that because I think it would keep this leverage going. And but having said that, it's kind of a moving target, and what passed on, I guess, yesterday was almost exactly what we passed out of the House the weekend before.
By the way, when I was in Washington, D.C. last week, I saw you on Tuesday night. You were gracious enough to stop by the Capitol Hill Club for a little book party some friends of mine throw. And later in the night, I ran into Speaker Boehner as well, and he had some words for you that I can't repeat on the radio, and it had to do with your decision to seek the Senate spot. He wasn't. He was, in a complimentary way of your talents in the Congress, not so happy about that pending move to lose you over there in the Senate. Are you getting any other grief about that?
Well, I tell you, people have done it very good naturally, but, everyone in the House is FAA. Here's a bill that we passed an extension in May. We passed nothing gets done. The Senate adjourns, and, everyone's concerned. So, everyone in the House is like, gee, we need someone that understands where we're going with our economy. We need to have someone that understands how to get the jobs going. And so I've just had a lot of support from House members, and I was kind of sensitive about that. I thought they'd be kind of upset. But, long term, the other thing that we need, quite frankly, we need a majority in the Senate, but we also need a Senate and a House to kind of work together, moving this country forward. I've been in situations where we get the same party controlling both chambers and not doing the right thing, as we've seen in the past. So the key is to have the votes and move it in the right direction.
By the way, we have an email question wants to know how you can say this plan cuts spending when it authorizes over $2 trillion in additional debt. And that's a popular theme we're hearing from folks. Say, wait a minute, we're raising the ability to add on more debt. How can we say at the same time we're cutting spending? Because obviously we're enabling more spending.
Well, first of all, there's a lot of misinformation that comes out, and you have to understand. First of all, we are losing $100 to $200 billion every month, negative cash flow, and until this economy turns around, nothing's it's not going to change. The cut that people are talking about is is a reduction in the baseline. So this, just kind of make it simple, what Paul Ryan had said is this is the first time since World War II that the actual spending for the next 2 years, this year and next year, will be below the prior year. So, having said that, as it moves forward, the person emailed is correct, and again, we're going to have to address that. But it is a small bite of that apple. But by no means is this the solution. This is just the start. It's just the first step.
All right, I know we got to let you go. Somebody else wanted me to ask you about the Hires Act, the very first bill you've introduced as your authored piece of legislation. What does the Hires Act do?
Well, quite simply, as it says to the states, we think you have a better way of getting people back to work from the federal government, and so it encourages the states, if they have an idea on how they can move people from unemployment into a job, we're letting them use that money rather than just having it paid out. They can use that to help get people jobs. I guess that's about as simple as I can make it.
All right, well, spoken like a true one-time legislator, right? Been there, done that.
Scott, all this stuff. If the states can figure this out. The states could, and yet the federal government's got this top-down mentality that's again, whether it's EPA or whether it's unemployment insurance or anything. By the time it gets down to the states, it just doesn't have the impact. So the idea is to reverse that and encourage solutions from the states up.
Fantastic. Congressman Rick Berg, by the way, we'll give you details as soon as they're announced on the town hall meetings, Grand Forks, Fargo, Bismarck next week. Thanks for the time, Rick. Good to talk to you.
All right, Scott. Thanks.
Take a break. When we come back, more on this and other topics on the Common Sense Club of the Scott Hennen Show. A busy one today. Load it up. Don't touch that dial. We'll continue after this short time out.